Well, a very good morning to each and every one of our viewers, and welcome to yet another exciting edition of your favorite Sunday morning program, Media Monitor, a show that brings you news analysis of some of the major news headlines of the week with myself, Alicia Jali. Here's what we have in store for you this morning. We start by looking at the recent Concord ruling on, of course, the secret ballot, because now the ball is in Mbete's court to decide whether the vote should be done in secret or not. We'll also delve into the Public Protector's ABSA Bank report as well as other related matters, and also get to explore the new mining charter. Will it be a turning point for the dwindling mining industry? Find out later on. We do have a mining analyst to come and unpack this new mining charter for us. And finally, we pay tributes and look at the legacies of Africa's greatest leaders, former Namibian President Adimba Toivo, as well as former Botswana President Seki Tumile Masire. But first, as always, it's 900 hours. Let's have a look at the news that are trending this hour. South African nominees have missed out on the BET Awards, or this year's Black Entertainment Awards, which took place in Los Angeles in the United States. Some of the winners in the international categories on Saturday included Best International Act, which went to Nigeria's Wizkid. So no luck for South Africa's AKA, Nasty and Babes Watumo. The Viewer's Choice Award went to Ray Vani from Tanzania, and South Africa's Amanda Black was challenging that very same category. South Africa's very own Yvonne Chaka Chaka, on the other hand, was honored for humanitarian work with the Global Good Award. It was awarded last year to famous singer Akon. The ANC National Executive Committee member Nomvula Mokonyane says the relationship between the ANC and its alliance partners is more than a marriage of convenience, and they cannot afford any differences to divide them. She was addressing the ANC's KwaZulu-Natal Provincial General Council taking place in Empangeni. The conference is aimed at consolidating the province's position ahead, of course, of the party's National Policy Conference. And some good news all around in the sporting front. The much improved Springboks wielded the whitewash brush to good effect by winning the third and final test 35-12 against France at the Emirates Airlines Park in Johannesburg last night. Now, it was South Africa's first win over France at the historic Johannesburg grounds after 4 defeats since, wait for it, 1958. All right, let's welcome our panelists today. We are very pleased to welcome political analyst Dr Susan Booysen, professor at Wits University School of Governance, as well as Professor Mcebisi Ndletyana, professor of political science at the University of Johannesburg. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to both of you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. And of course, with me is our digital producer, Neo Motloung. Neo, a very good morning to you.
Morning, Alicia. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. What do you have for us on the digital front?
We're starting with art insurance this morning. I mean, the Father's Day ad that they released last week where they featured...
It's very controversial.
It's very controversial.
Yeah.
They featured mostly white fathers who are not even South African and one black father. So Newsroom asked this tweet, this poll, is the advertising industry inherently racist? Because you've seen a number of ads that are coming out excluding black people or portraying them with fathers and stuff. So 75% of the people said yes, and then 25% of the people said no.
So that's quite reasonable. Let's look at the tweets before we get any input from the panelists, because I really want to know what they were saying there. It says hashtag outsurance. If all fellow blacks can just cancel your services from this company, we will never see outsurance ads ever.
I mean, Jeff also echoes the same sentiment, saying, I complain with action, outsurance. I just cancelled my policy. Blacks need to get this. Stop with all the talk and just boycott it if you are serious.
Well, let's see if other people took any kindly to the matter. Policy cancelled as promised. Ooh, okay. Hashtag outsurance. That is from Maino8583. So very interesting reviews on Twitter as well. But I want to find out from our panelists, Professor Ndletyana, what did you think about the ad, firstly, and also the reactions on social media?
Well, I think the ad was not well thought out. I mean, to have, what, 9 white guys and 1 black guy in an ad is absurd. In South Africa, of all places, you would have thought perhaps in Europe you would expect that. Yeah. And I think people should act out their beliefs. The reaction that we've had so far is appropriate. Yeah. If people disapprove of something, they should do something, right? Yeah. And not sit down and complain without doing anything. So OUTsurance will obviously suffer, and they must. They deserve the punishment.
Shame, they've already suffered. I mean, we've read 3 people that have said they've cancelled their policies. Professor Booysen, yeah. What did you think about this?
Yes, it is just a no-go in this day and age. Mm-hmm. There is a much higher social consciousness of the residues of society that have not been transformed, mm-hmm. and OUTsurance really has to do better than blame it on a relatively junior employee and say it has not been slipped. I think it's a hello situation. Mm-hmm. But I think they will, the bottom line for me is they will never put out an advertisement like that this, again.
Yeah. Hopefully they've learned their lesson to put out more inclusive ads. And just that goes for anybody else as well. I mean, we know that the big hula baloo was about the beer ads or the whiskey ads that were actually advertised on Father's Day. But this time it was a different narrative. So it shows that people are really concerned and paying attention of what should be happening, particularly in the media space. What are we looking at now, Neo?
Talking about media and social media, we're looking at the social media blackout that was driven by...
That was trending.
Yes, it was trending. But if you look at the graph, Alicia, the day it was announced, you can see it was high, the graph was high, but as the day proceeded on the 21st, it went low and it started trending again the following day on the 23rd. So it did kind of slow down social media, but the whole point was to drive the narrative to business that if we shut down social media, you guys have no business at all.
Let's see if people took that narrative into account. Spumelele Zondi says, when is the hashtag social media shutdown happening? When it's the #1 trending topic on social media? You know?
That's a great question, actually. Umdini says, hashtag social media shutdown. Shutting down social media will not bring down the price of data. Only not buying and using data will bring it down.
Let's get the final view there from Tato Radise. Says the social media blackout is not practical. Professor Booysen, did you think it was not practical?
Yes, indeed. You know, the big cost where data is most expensive is on mobile data, and it was a good public statement to remind us and to retain that kind of consciousness that data in South Africa is too high. Yeah. And in a country where we have the social disadvantages and unemployment, we have free or virtually free data. Can probably help open many possibilities for people. So and South Africa is disproportionately expensive. And so we have to look at where the real costs are, and the telecom companies need to be challenged specifically on that. They're taking notes, but they are not doing anything about it. So it's a good sentiment in the campaign, but it is obviously inappropriately targeted.
All right, we'll view it in that civil way, Doctor. Professor Ndletyana, what do you think?
I think it was a very good action. I mean, Kenya has apparently a much cheaper
that's true.
Data compared to us. And yet we're supposed to be the biggest economy in the continent, yet we're so expensive. So we should be able to make up for these losses. I mean, with the economy that we have, so many subscribers, so they can make money really from lowering the price.
Almost everybody has a
economies
phone in
of
the
scale.
country.
Yeah, exactly. So if one has to speak of white monopoly capital, I think this is it. It has to be crushed.
You just had to slip that in there, Professor. No, let's do the final one. I'm not going to say anything on that one. Let's look at the final big hashtag for this week. What are we looking at here? What is this poll all about?
The poll asked, do you think the Speaker of Parliament, Balagambete, will order a secret ballot now that the Concord has said she has the power to do so? Out of the 900 people who voted, 17% said yes, she will, while 62% said no, she won't. 18% saying I want a secret ballot, and then 3% saying I don't want. Yes.
And any more tweets? Do you have any tweets on this one? Bongeni says, do you really think Balagambete will go against Ubaba? Hashtag secret ballot.
And Jabulo saying, echoing the same thing, since Balagambete said she has no problem with the secret ballot, I assume she will order it.
Any more views here? Muzi says, Balagambete, can you just do us right, please? Hashtag secret ballot. We're going to discuss this in more detail, but Professor Ndletyana, just a quick one on the social media reactions to the judgment by the Concord.
I think people are quite keen to have Parliament do something.
Yeah.
There's a level of outrage out there in society that Parliament has not exercised its accountability, responsibility over the President. So, though, I mean, what, 68% or whatever, you know, so hopefully Balagambete will heed societal views, but these days is very insensitive to popular views.
Professor Booysen.
Yes, indeed. If she can resist social media, she's not also going to resist the president. But we do not really know. The pressures are there. Chief Justice Mogoeng gave her specific directives, as specific as you can get without doing judicial overreach. But we know she can probably do this irrational, rational thing and construct a rational, seemingly, by her standards, a rational argument, and put it in there, and when time, it will go to courts. We almost certainly know what a constitutional court would find if she does not order a secret ballot, but she can do that.
Professor Booysen, we're going to get into more detail on this topic much later on in the program. Neo, give our viewers the URL where they can go check out all these stories and more that you have on the SABC Newsline.
www.sabc.news, and also on our Twitter, it's at SABC News Online.
All right, well, let's take a quick ad break, and after that, we look at the secret ballot in the no confidence motion. It's all coming up after this.
If we can join our hands together against the ills of our society, we can build a better nation. One youth, one South Africa.
Water-wise, water is an essential need. The scarcity of it could lead to loss of many lives, including livestock, plants, and much more. It requires us to use it sparingly and responsibly in times of need, failing which our taps and sanitation will not function. For more on water and weather issues, stay tuned to News Today, every Friday at 4:45 Central African Time. SABC News, making you water-wise.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM News live at 10:00 hours across all Central African regions.
A fitting send-off for a revolutionary giant. A life dedicated in service of the people.
The result means that the Swallows are out of the ABC Multiple League and drop to the amateur fourth tier of South African football, the SAB League.
Tune in on AM News every Saturday and Sunday from 10 hours.
Another motion of no confidence is looming over President Jacob Zuma. This after the Constitutional Court ruled that National Assembly Speaker Balagambete has the powers to allow for a secret ballot and to decide on the appropriate voting method. Opposition parties were thrilled and felt vindicated with the judgment, while the ANC vowed to defeat the motion of no confidence, which will be the 8th against the president. Let's find out more on this clip.
We are doing a job. I respect that.
A buoyant president dismissing suggestions he should go.
I think the people of South Africa did not make a mistake by electing me as the president of this country. I'm fit and I'm doing it very well.
The president denied that the release of the Gupta emails proved state capture. He questioned the origins and authenticity of the emails, pointing out that the Public Protector, Parliament, and the State Capture Commission of Inquiry would probe the matter.
The Judicial Commission of Inquiry and the emails will be part of that. So we are not leaving them unattended to. Then we will be able to speak about the emails with a serious scientific investigation which will tell us exactly what happened.
President Zuma also dismissed reported accusations that he'd facilitated government deals for his son, Duduzane.
You can't single out a young person, one person, and victimize the person because he's a son of the president. It's not correct.
Zuma dismissed suggestions that the nuclear build program would drain the fiscus and favor Russia, reiterating it will happen at a pace and scale that the country can afford. Bulelani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
Professors, let's talk about the ruling. Let's start with you, Prof. Ndletyana.
Well, I thought it was a simple and yet profound judgment. Pretty much says the Speaker does have the prerogative to decide that the voting should be done secretly. And this is quite interesting because the Chief Justice, it was a unanimous decision, which is very good.
Yeah.
It means that all of them were behind it, and it was written by the Chief Justice. Which also means that in that judgment specifically, he says, in any case, the Speaker did not oppose, said that she's not opposed to doing a secret ballot. It's just that she's not sure if she's allowed to.
She has the powers,
Yeah. And towards the end of this judgment, the Chief Justice also says, well, it would be inappropriate of me to order the Speaker to allow secret balloting because she never said that she's opposed to it. So it's a cleverly couched judgment.
Very clever, yeah.
In terms of the law, he says, no, you are allowed. Then also he sneaks in and says, by the way, you never said you are opposed to it. So the pressure now is that she has to allow, well, I mean, I'm talking common sense. In most cases, common sense doesn't apply to the ANC. But in instances where it does apply, she would have to comply with that judgment. If she says no, then she must come up with a rational explanation for refusing that, right? And so far, you have to allow for it because people have been threatened. Makosi Koza, Mondli Kongubele, you have quite a number of them who said, we will vote based on our conscience. So there's pressure there, and there's evidence that should people vote openly against the president, there's a real possibility of violence upon these people. So she has to take those conditions into consideration if she declines.
You know what I also found interesting while you're busy explaining some of the ruling meaning there, Professor, is that he also said, Chief Justice said, nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you cannot have these motions of no confidence in secret. It doesn't say so in the Constitution.
Exactly. And you pointed out a few instances, like in the election of president and deputy president, speaker of the House. There are actually secret ballots that are used in those. And so it was, besides giving a wonderful interpretation of the Constitution and clarifying a few points on which there had not been that clarity, I think I got the impression he really enjoyed giving the politicians this lesson in democracy, reminding them that we're actually a constitutional democracy, and these are your core responsibilities to represent citizens of South Africa. And of course, there is this big contradiction. How do you reconcile representing the citizens of South Africa with that party political imperatives? And the ANC saying, like we've heard ZANU-PF also saying on quite a few occasions, the party is paramount. That is a sentiment that runs very strongly amongst former liberation movement parties in power. The party is paramount, and the MPs generally think they have this ultimate responsibility to ensure the ANC, in this case, will be fine. And the Chief Justice gave a few very important lessons to them on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. But now, I mean, we were talking about the fact that our society needs to see the transparency in terms of our governing system. But now, doesn't the secret ballot go against those values, Professor Ndletyana?
That's a very interesting question, Alicia. The Chief Justice says the secret ballot doesn't apply all the time.
Absolutely.
You have to choose instances on which it applies, because you have to guard against corruption. People being bribed to vote in a certain way, and because of the cover of secrecy, they can vote in a particular without being known. So you have to choose instances. In this case, does it warrant a secret ballot?
Because there's been threats.
Exactly, and also because you are not. It's not a malicious intention to the extent that you are removing a well-performing president. This president has been a disaster, period, right? You have a constitutional ruling, a court ruling that says that he has violated his oath of office. So by all intents and purposes, right, this is a motion that is well intended to restore the vibrancy of our democracy. So you should allow it. I doubt that people will be bribed to do something. I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah.
The major issue here is conscience, because most people, in one way or another, I mean, we meet some of these MPs have said that they would vote to remove the president. Well, the president is a liability. That's quite clear. But they are fearful that, also because, I mean, you know, you have ministers there. If President Zuma goes, ministers go. They lose jobs. They lose. So you have to allow for an environment where people are able to do what is right. And in this case, I think it
country over party. It brings us back to that debate again, Professor
Booysen.
Booysen.
Yes, and to tie it into this point of bribes and threats, the sky is actually the limit, I think. We cannot rule it out. I think that there may be attempts to bribe people if delegates to the ANC's policy conference are receiving money to vote in a certain way.
You see now, these are the news stories that could be surfacing right after that vote.
And it's not policy conference, it's just policy and no election at this stage, but the configurations are starting to take shape. By the time of the policy conference, we're going to see approximately how the branches and the provinces are represented in these top bodies of the ANC, and that will start giving an indication by next weekend this time as to how elections might go towards the end of the year. But pulling it back to Parliament and the secret vote now, there is such polarization there, and heads are being counted, and even the ones who have not been publicly noticed to have been threatened, other ones are being called where the pro-Zumas are suspecting that they might be voting against or trying to abstain on the day. They are called sellouts and traitors, and the stakes are very, very high in there. Of course, we've heard people like ANC Chief Whip Jackson Tembo this week saying the ANC will not vote out their president.
Absolutely.
And there's a big debate in the ANC now. Where do we cut the damages? Is the ANC going to split if that vote divides in Parliament there? That is what the Zumas are trying to say. Maybe that's what we need to
look at, Professor Booysen. What would happen if that secret vote was actually was conducted in secret, and then the results are...
You see, in Xhosa we say, everything is exposed. They have no excuses anymore. Jackson Tembo has been saying that we need to do the right thing. Parliament has to do the right thing. Now they've been given all these the playing field has been arranged in a way that to enable them to do the right thing. So they have no excuses for not doing the right thing. So and unfortunately for them, especially because the Chief Justice, I think, dedicated about 2 or 3 pages on this, saying that the responsibility or the loyalty of the MPs is to the Constitution.
Absolutely.
Not to the party.
Absolutely.
Because they take an oath to represent the people. They are representing the people, on behalf of the people, for the people. So for him then to say, no, we have to prioritize the interests of the party, that argument is now being made against the Constitutional Court. So he's arguing now against the Constitutional Court, which has a lot of disadvantages, because, you know, if Mokgweng were to stand for presidency now, he would win. He's the most popular, simply because he's the most reasonable public figure now, because we have insanity throughout. So, you know, it's not good for the ANC now to argue in the way that they say when the Constitutional Court is like violating yet again a constitutional ruling.
Yeah, but I suppose, I mean, then you should be able to vote with your conscience and vote openly without your vote being a secret if you know that you're protecting the Constitution.
It should be a clear-cut choice.
Absolutely, it should
be
a clear-cut choice.
But then party politics and the aura of the ANC, and the aura that the ANC likes to present, projector of itself, that enters. And the narrative of selling out and traitors. And, you know, if they could still, the speaker could still, there's a small chance that she could say the rational thing, given all these circumstances and the toxic political environment, would be to decide on a closed secret vote.
Look, President Zuma so much as called for a secret vote when he said, you know what, you failed 7 times, bring it on.
Yeah, that's a giveaway. That's a giveaway. When he said, no, I don't want it, he obviously fears what might come out of a secret ballot.
All right, Prof, let's leave it there. The Public Protector's ABSA report has been strongly slammed. It's all coming up after this break. Do stay tuned.